Great, video got cut off, part 2. This is so annoying. I hate technology. It annoys me so much. I was on a roll. I wanted to make this long video, and now I have to make a part two-parter. Okay, basically, I was, just to sum up, I did my exposure. My anxiety went down, as it's supposed to if you do this correctly. And, basically, I should record my anxiety levels in the description. I'll record my anxiety levels in the description. Just for once, see how it makes me feel. So not big into like sharing a lot of my personal information. Anyway, just to sum up as well, 4 currents of negative thoughts are going through my head during the past 3 weeks of doing my exposures. So during the past 3 weeks of me doing my exposure, I had about 4 negative thoughts. One was, my mother's not really supporting me in terms of my life choices, and she gave me sort of like mixed signals growing up in terms of how to be, you could say, a good son to her. Number 2 is basically a feeling of worthlessness with everybody. Number 3 is that I feel that, you know, these thoughts come back and they really kind of make me sad. My friends, 2 of my friends who were really close to me, let's just call them person A and person B. I knew them since high school. I knew them for years and years. We spent a lot of time close together almost every day. And one day they just stopped picking up my phone calls, and I had to hear from basically, you know, I don't know who I heard from. I guess I just kind of figured it out. I think they kind of maybe told someone, or I forget how, I just kind of figured it out that when person A was moving, they only called our mutual friend, person B, and not me, to help them move. And I felt it was a bit of a slight, so I kind of like said, hey, do you want to still like hang out? And so I dropped our mutual friend at person A's house or something like that. No, I dropped a mutual friend at his house, and I kind of said, hey, so person A moved, you know, that's interesting, like, you know. Or maybe it was let's just call him person B, the person I'm driving to his house. Maybe I asked him, so hey, I asked him, so you moved, all right, person, you moved? And he's like, yeah. And he gave me this look like, you know, like I'm making fun of you in a way, like, don't ever talk to me again, you know, like, yeah, why are you bringing this up? I hope you never are this way, and if you are, it was just a joke. And I kind of got the vibes from there, the kind of social cues and reading that, okay, I get it, you don't want to hang out with me anymore, and this is a nice way of saying basically that you're sexist. And the last negative thought was, see, I said I was worthless. I said I was, my mom gave me mixed signals when growing up, and also that my friends, kind of 2 of my friends who were close to me, stopped talking to me. And then there's, those are the basic currents I can think of right now. I know there's a 4th one I spoke about in terms of not being, comfortable around Muslims as well as non-Muslims, and that whole differentiation in terms of like Muslims would look at me like, oh, you can you know, struggle and not be this way, right? Just have the thoughts maybe and don't act on it, because apparently in Islam it's okay to have these thoughts, we just don't act on it. And then for non-Muslims, it would be like, oh, once they found that I am this way, it'd be like, you need to express yourself more, don't be, you know, hamstrung by your, you know, orthodoxy and whatnot. And I've noticed that a lot, especially with the medical professionals and group therapy, especially with homosexual people and people on the LGBTQ. They call it a spectrum, I think, but not like an autistic spectrum. It's like a spectrum, like, just because I'm thinking autism, because the last time I really used spectrum in a medicinal, you know, psychological setting was talking about autism. But no, it's not autistic spectrum, it's about homosexual spectrum. So now the question becomes, how do we deal with these negative thoughts? It's really hard, because we're already thinking, let's not have these thoughts. I had to do exposures. I had to think I was dying and I was going to choke, and I'm scared, and I'm fearing choking, and I'm fearing all these horrible thoughts going through my head, just to discover that you have these thoughts. Your thoughts might be similar to these. They might not be. I'm pretty sure they're going to be similar in terms of abandonment, self-worth issues, maybe a bit of obsessiveness. But we all have these automatic thoughts, as Katie said in her video. Remember, we all have the automatic thoughts you don't even pay attention to. And for someone with anxiety, they really need to be shook up. Because when I grew up, there was only the fight and flight method. But then the psychologist realized there was a third method, which is freeze. And I freeze a lot. If you notice in my first videos, I wouldn't even be able to make an anxiety level or even be mindful, because the whole world and everything around it is forcing you to just be like this thing and then that thing. Go to work and then do this, and then go to this and do this. And it's just like all automatic. There's no mindfulness in what people do. So when you're trying to be mindful, it becomes incredibly hard, especially when you have an anxiety disorder. You have to be extra mindful, and your anxiety is fighting you the whole way, saying, no, this is more comfortable. Don't eat. It's more comfortable to not eat. It's more comfortable to pray a lot and then hopefully eat. It's more comfortable to eat soft foods and then, like, just slowly, don't even do the exposures. Just if it happens, it happens. If you lose weight, you lose weight. You rely on the medication. So you get these negative thoughts with your anxiety, and it's things you don't want to think about, but you're automatically thinking about them. With anxiety exposure, you bring out those automatic thoughts, allow them to fester, allow them to come to the surface, allow them to, in a way, be exposed, right? That's a good way of putting it. They're exposed now, so you can judge them. Do you really believe in this thought? Do you really believe that you have no self-worth? Do you really believe you're going to choke? Do you really believe that homosexuality is a struggle? These are the things. Those are the harder questions. That's what I realized. Through the exposure, I realized the questions are the harder questions, that only the answers come from you. They don't come from anyone else. That's what I realized. I used to... Sorry, I'm going to take a puff off the cigarette. I've been talking too much. I used to... believe I was worthless. I'm sorry, I used to believe, scratch that, I used to believe that whatever other people said about me is kind of true. Like if my mom gave me some advice about anxiety, I'd kind of like, okay, it makes me feel better. If my dad gives me love, if he gives me anxiety advice, I think that's good. If a person that a mosque gives me anxiety advice, is good. If I learn some knowledge about Islam that talks about anxiety, it makes me feel like that's what I should be doing. And those are all great things to do. The thing is, when you don't have your own ideas, you're just gonna be misguided if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm new at this whole idea of exposing anxiety and stuff. I just realized I had to do it because I really can't afford my psychologist anymore. And this is the tools he's basically given me. So as you can surmise by now, the choking, just like the social anxiety, there are deeper issues at play than just a person's going to judge me. For me, it was my homosexuality, basically, is what if you go down to it. All of the negative thoughts I've spoken about have one thing in common, don't they? Friends leaving me. Mom not giving me good advice while growing up. Struggling with Muslims, as well as coming to terms with how society treats LGBT people, which is more of like, you don't have to struggle. Everything's happy. Just accept it. What does it all have in common? Homosexuality. My mom would curl my hair before I would see my boyfriend. And then the next day she'd be like, you're disgusting what you did, after I slept over at his house. Homosexuality, right? So, that's a hard thought to deal with. It really is. Because there's so much to unpack in that thought. Am I gay? Am I straight? Is bi a thing? Does having sex with a man make you gay? Isn't it a spectrum? A sexual spectrum, just like an autistic spectrum or an LGBT spectrum. It's a spectrum in terms of what you are. And then you get to these negative thoughts where it's just like, maybe I give up. I say to myself, it's too hard, so just, F everything. People don't care about me, no one cares about me, the world's just, blah, I don't care, it's bored. And that, in a way, is a coping mechanism. But then we gotta differentiate between healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms, because I do some unhealthy coping mechanisms too. I do things I think I shouldn't be doing. Like, I don't, let's just leave it at that. I don't do things that I really should be doing. Like, for example, I smoke marijuana. I know I shouldn't be doing that. I do things that I'm not really proud of the next night, and I though that's not a healthy coping mechanism. That kind of started after let's just call him let's just call him, I don't know, person C. Okay, there's a major life change happening in person C's life, and it's affecting me in a way. And it kind of we were close at one time, and now I just feel like kind of I'm going off the rails. I need to kind of get back to who I am. Funny thing is, once you've been off the rails for that long, you don't even know what a train is. That makes sense? You don't even know how to get back on, let alone how to drive it, let alone the concept that you're even off the rails. Doing these videos helps me realize I am off the rails. I'm doing unhealthy coping mechanisms. It also helps me realize that some of the core beliefs I've been taught since I converted or into my religion seem to be unraveling. For example, there was this one teacher I would listen to on the internet a lot. And I don't want to name any names. I'm not the type of person, so just call him person D. And he spoke a lot about some interesting Islamic topics I was interested in. Then when I spoke to my psychologist about me trying to, not be this way and to actually convert away from homosexuality to be straight and how I believe I can do that, he took me aside. He said, look, man. He's Muslim too, right? He said, look, I know these people. And as soon as he said, I know these people, my teachers who I was following a lot came to my head. I could see him in my head, in my brain. Image of him. He said, these people, I've been to Pakistan, I've lived there. They would go, they'd say, come. And they would take us to Russia, and they would have sexual relations with young women, Then they would say, oh, it's okay, it's Islamic, we can just divorce them afterwards by saying divorce 3 times, and that's it. And it's halal. It's like, halal, it's like kosher. It's okay according to the law, according to God's law. And he would just, and I'm like, no, I don't believe these people are like that. And then I did more research. I felt guilty even doing the research. I felt like, why am I researching about my own religion against it? But once I realized that there was a lot of evidence, especially in England, for example, there was a Sheffield sex crime case where apparently older Muslim men were dropping off British kids, white kids, no older than 13, some as young as 8, I believe, and dropping them off to their parents' house late at night after they've been raped by these Muslim men. Why they've been raped? Because they wanted to get back at British culture for apparently the whitening of it or whatever, right? And they would rape them, and they would threaten them, saying, if you tell anybody what we did, like first they would take pictures of them naked. And they said, if you tell anybody what we did, we will rape you. And of course they don't tell anybody. So then they rape them. Trigger warning. I'm getting a bit triggered just thinking about this. But going back to my story, when I learned about this and I felt very guilty looking it up, it also expanded my mind a bit. I thought to myself, Islam is one thing and the Muslim community is another thing. And when I converted to Islam. I didn't convert to the Muslim community. And now once I'm learning about the Muslim community, and not only the good but the bad of it, not only the teachers that I like, but also some of the Muslims who claim to be Muslim and aren't, it makes me think, like, can I do that? But I realize that's hypocritical. But then I realize everyone's doing that except like the really, 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 really holy people. So I think to myself, what do I think to myself? All these thoughts are just coming to me now. Like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I deal with this? And it's really, really hard because at the end of the day, if I'm not making these videos, I'm not going to talk about it. I can't talk about it with my family. Because basically, they're going to be like, no, we don't believe in that. And even if I was to show them, it wouldn't be positive. I would be like negative. If that makes any sense in my family. Oh, he's being negative again. Don't be negative. Stop being negative, Nizam. At the same time, if I spoke to society at large, let's say I called a suicide hotline, just a helpline, a lot of them out there, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to get someone out from your ethnicity or your faith, and you tell them about this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's something you need to, they have their own political views about Islam. They might be like, well, maybe you should leave Islam. And they might be like, well, no, don't. But the point is, society in large has a negative view about Islam for the most part, I would say. And so they'd be like, you should leave. Didn't you know they don't like these type of people? But I can't leave. I can't leave my faith that I when I felt so much goodness, converting. The first time I prayed, it felt so good. So it's like, these thoughts are it's not like God's going to come down and be like, right, Nizam, do this, and this. Unfortunately. That's not how it works. We believe that the last prophet is there's no more revelation, so we have to figure it out ourselves. The revelation is there, but we have to figure it out ourselves now to reinterpret it, reimagine it into the 21st century. And, it's really hard. I have noticed there are some homosexual imams, right? Priests of Islam. And it's like, whoa, It's really stressful because the doctors say do this and you'll get better. And you'll get better, but then you'll realize the thing that you're supposed to do is not as scary as your own thoughts and who you are and why you're doing this. Islam is wrong. And no matter how much you do your exposure, it'll only help with your choking phobia. And it'll bring to the light your negative thoughts. But to actually destroy them, you have to put them on trial. Which means, for me, with my core beliefs of Islam, being connected to my homosexuality, putting my faith on trial. Which is very tough. No one wants to put their faith on trial. That's why it's called faith. Right? You don't put faith on trial, but that's a thought as well. As I mentioned earlier in part 1 of this video, it's magical thinking. Religion is magical thinking. So, my psychologist put it the best way. He said, religion is based on certainty. Science is based on doubt. Okay? So, you gotta look at it like that. And I base a lot of my life on this certainty of religion. And once I began to realize that I don't have to be this way, I could be atheist like I used to be, or agnostic like I used to be, and be homosexual. That's a solution. And I as I mentioned, my solution has been wrong right now. It's been stop smoking weed, do your prayers on time, be a good Muslim, and believe you can somehow convert to heterosexuality. Or my solution is do the exact opposite. Don't do your prayers on time, don't be a good Muslim, smoke a lot of weed, and believe that you cannot convert to homosexuality. Right? It was like black and white thinking in a way, or black and white behavior. Probably might be a bit. I know it's a bit of a, how to explain, like orders and rules. Like I enter into something and I follow all the rules. Whether it's Islam or agnosticism or just me being whoever I am. And once you follow these rules, you realize, it's comfortable to be in those rules. For some with OCPD, it's comfortable to actually be in the rules, because when you're in the rules, it's comfortable. For some with OCPD, it's kind of like OCD, but it's like more in terms of like you realize I realize that it's kind of like it's consistent with myself rather than inconsistent with myself. It's ego syntonic, not ego dystonic. For example, if I was to wash my hands a lot, I would think it's fine because I'm doing a prayer and I have to wash my hands before I pray. But for someone with OCD, not OCPD, when they wash their hands a lot, they would do it and just keep doing it and just keep doing it and keep doing it. You see a lot of that in the Muslim community. A lot of people have OCD and they think they haven't finished their washing before they can pray. And that would be inconsistent with themselves, right? But I have no problem washing my hands if I want to, or for me, mostly it's like a pure O in my brain where everything kind of needs to be ordered and perfect, and Only problem is, I don't know what to do when there's a mistake. I kind of just ignore it, or I just kind of, you know how you're just like thinking, you're like, oh, I don't want to think about that, so you just don't think about it, and you just keep going with whatever you're doing, even though that was really pretty important. You should be thinking about it. Yeah, people think that I do that. We're lazy, just like everybody else, just we're lazy and we have an illness. Would you blame someone who's lazy and broke their leg? I wouldn't. I would be like, crap, you broke your leg, let's fix that. And if you're lazy, well, okay, let's get less lazy. But I'm not going to blame your broken leg for being lazy. Right? Unless you did something lazy while breaking your leg. I think that's a joke. I think I'm kidding there. Because even then, you should be nice to people, right? You broke your leg. Okay, if you're lazy, you're lazy. But I'm not going to blame your leg for your laziness. So, that's that. So, I'm going to wrap up the video here. And remember, guys, stay with it.